Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
James. How we doing? This
Right, mate. Yeah.
is game week 14. I just double checking that. Obviously, West Ham haven't played yet to ruin my game week, so we're all hunky dory. Nice trip up to Newcastle.
Great trip up to Newcastle. I love it up there. It's always a good trip up there.
Yes, indeed.
And we didn't lose for a change.
Didn't lose. I mean, take it as a victory when you didn't lose, especially if the way that you came back to pick up a draw, which we will be talking about. Let's start by covering off our team's usual drill. We're going to cover off the 9 games that have taken place so far. Obviously, Manchester United versus West Ham is tonight at 8 o'clock.
Me and David will cover that tomorrow.
Yeah, indeed, you can. I'm not going to watch it, so.
You're not going to watch it?
No, I am going to watch it. But I'm not looking forward to it. Is more to the point. And then we'll get ourselves set for Saturday deadline, isn't it? Is there a 12:30 on Saturday? There is, isn't there?
There is. It's Villa Arsenal, title decider of a title race that's already decided. Yeah. We've all got to make a transfer this week, haven't we? There's no choice. We've all got to do something.
I've got 2 frees going into this week, so yeah, we will.
You got to do 2.
Yeah. What was your wild card like in the end? Are you happy? Unhappy? I bet you were loving it when. Oh, sorry, this is a week after wild card now. Your Bruno Guimaraes transfer, James. I bet you were loving it when he was benched.
Yeah, see, this is the thing, right? When I saw Bruno Guimaraes was benched, my reaction wasn't, oh, shit, FPL transfer this week. My reaction was, my team's got a better chance of winning tonight because he's their best midfield player, in my opinion.
Until he came on the pitch and started pulling strings. Yeah. I hate Bruno Guimaraes just for
the nonsense when he wins a tackle and he does this weird shit. I know the fans there love it, so it's fine.
And he's dirty.
He does it so often, it doesn't have any impact as far as I'm concerned when he wins a tackle and stuff.
He's dirty and he's a shit. And if he's on your own team, I'm sure you love him. I don't like him. However,
he's a great player.
Yeah, that ball that he put through, was it for Jacob Murphy? I feel like it was the Jacob Murphy where he pinged it through.
I forget. It was a few.
It was sexy. It was sexy. Yeah, I'll give him that. But yeah, he benched and he came on, but he did come on and scored a great goal. So yeah. Happy with your game week so far? Yeah, it must be a red arrow for you, right?
At the moment, yeah, I've still got Bumo to go tonight. I'm on 63. And obviously there's potential swings still to come tonight with Bumo, Fernandes. Lots of talk of 2 Manchester United players might be missing tonight. Lots of concern that Bruno Fernandes might be one of them. If I know Bruno, he'll probably play, guys, and they don't play again till Monday. So, all right. Hopefully I put the mockers on it for you Bruno owners. So could still swing better or worse tonight. I bought Guimaraes for Doku. No regrets on that decision. I knew I wanted Guimaraes. I knew when I bought him there was half a chance that he wouldn't play one of the Tottenham or Burnley games. And despite all the things I say about Tottenham, I'd rather he played. I'd rather he missed Tuesday night than had the headache of is he going to play tomorrow. I know he plays, not tomorrow, Saturday. I know he plays on Saturday now. I bought him for Doku.
On that. We said that about Salah, by the way, after he missed the West Ham game and said, well, he's definitely going to play on Wednesday.
I'm still in shock about it. We'll get there.
Yeah.
No regrets on selling Doku. It was a choice between Doku, Rodgers or Sade. I wouldn't have started Doku anyway, so I'm not missing out on his points. I felt there was a strong chance he'd get benched on Tuesday night, which obviously he didn't. But the conclusion I come to was that if he didn't, I'd be probably going into the weekend concerned if he started again. Whereas with Rodgers and Sade, I obviously don't have those sort of concerns, and I don't need to play either of them even this weekend. They're currently both bust to be on the bench for me. So with that in mind, I thought, you know what? I experimented with Doku. We're coming into the Christmas period. I don't want to be pissing about with that week after week. He is playing so well. Those who watched the game Tuesday night again saying he played really well, but it isn't actually equating much in terms of goals output. And I think of players I've described, I mentioned this about Grealish, who inevitably scored Tuesday night earlier in the season, saying, I'm not interested in the player who's going to get me assists. So no regrets on the fact that I cut him. Returners for me, not great. Haaland captaincy. There's a lot of non-Haaland captaincies in the analytic crowd. Seems like a lot have gone with Bruno Fernandes. I'm sure the majority of them have Haaland vice just in case he doesn't play. Daniel Munoz, 14-pointer. Virgil van Dijk, DEFCON. Guimaraes goal off the bench, which was assisted by Nick Voltemade. That was my week. 1 pointer for Timber, 1 pointer for Chow, 0 pointer for Nico O'Reilly. If there's a disappointment in my game week, it was a choice between starting O'Reilly or Rodgers. I decided to go with O'Reilly, part because I own Verbruggen, so I wasn't on an all-in strategy. Yankuba Minter, pretty disappointing last night for Brighton, despite obviously a lot of goals in that game. The opposite, it was with him, it was the opposite of what I'd seen at Forest on Sunday, which is nice that I've watched both of those games and seen two very different Minters. Quite intriguing, that actually. So 63, small Reds, sitting at 391k currently. It's probably a bit worse than that actually once auto subs kick in. Boomer to go tonight, and 1 free for the weekend. And there's every chance one of Rodgers or Sade now goes, and I'm possibly just downgrading that to something like Dewsbury Hall. I'm not playing him this week, just to kind of reset, ready to go for 16. That was the plan for 15 before I wildcarded.
Okay, fair play, makes sense. Obviously, you had Timber rested, which was frustrating, though now we saw with Mascara's injury.
There was a strong chance of that. It's like, what can I do? I can't bench Timber.
No, I get that. Obviously, Mascara's injury maybe means that Timber stays at centre-back because Ben White had a good game at right-back. So maybe they stick with that if Saliba and Gabriel are out still for a little bit longer.
Timber will play Saturday, that's a certainty.
Yeah. Whether it's right back or centre back, he's going to be playing. So yeah, ended up interesting. I ended up on 64 points, James. So it's much there or thereabouts. The transfer that I made was selling João Pedro for Voltemade, which means I'm 3 points net up on that transfer because Voltemade did get the assist. There was a bit of like, did he hit it, or was it the defender that played it onto Guimaraes? But I think he got the assist in the end.
Just take the points and sharpen it.
Yeah, I'm not even questioning it. And João Pedro obviously played 90 minutes, and he was a concern for me about whether he will get rested. He could get rested at the weekend now, so I'm happy to be rid of João Pedro, to be honest with you, and have Voltemade in there, who was a threat throughout the game. Petrovic in goal with just the 2-pointer. I wasn't watching that game. I was actually watching. Why is my blanking? Your game, and then bits of Fulham City, flicking between the two. And it sounded like, from what I could see on the stats, that he didn't deserve a clean sheet anyway. Like, he held out for 70 minutes just. So screw it. I'll just take the 2 points and forget about it. I had Calafiori and Lacroix to your Timber and Munoz, and net both scored 15 points as a combined pair. So there you go. I had the lowest scoring Palace defender. Even Richards got more points than Lacroix. I think he got 9, and then Gahey and Munoz got 14, was it, or 12? I can't remember. Whatever it was high. But the fact that Calafiori came in with 7-pointer was fine. Van Dijk, to be talked about. At least he got another DEFCON. But Liverpool, Gakpo off at half-time. What's that emoji with the teeth? Eesh. Will he play at the weekend? Rice coming off with a hammy, maybe. No, it wasn't his hammy. It was his ankle that he was pointing at, wasn't it?
Is what I've heard.
Yeah, he was pointing down.
I've also seen one report that Mikel Arteta said that he thought he would be okay. Not that I've not seen that physically. I've seen someone say that.
It didn't look too bad. It looked more precautionary, I would say.
Yeah, I bet.
Semenyo, we only have him for DEFCONs, don't we? So, yeah, there you go. And a blank from Mateta. I'm 4 points down on safety at the moment. So, and Bumo's give or take 50% EO. So I do need, 8, 9, 10 points off him to kind of get back to where I want to be. But then it depends on what other players do as well. But is there or thereabouts, James, to be honest with you? I haven't really given much thought to what I'm going to do this week, but I do have options. So, if I feel like Cody Gakpo now is not going to play, then I could see myself maybe going for Bukayo Saka, who obviously only came on for the second half yesterday and looks pretty lively. If I do that, then I can downgrade Rice. I've got 5 million to play with. So I'd probably buy the same player that you talked about, which is back to Dewsbury Hall, back to the game week 1 player. But I do like the idea of maybe
with him. Like I was
Saka.
never a fan of owning him. It's interesting. I was slagging off of Bruggen all season. I've kind of landed with him as my long-term goalkeeper, and I'm not going to do it. I mean, he's actually made 6 saves last night, and we'll talk about Villa. I picked the right game to watch last night. And Dewsbury Hall, I wasn't mad keen on, but I can see that Everton fixture turn coming around about game week 18, and I know with Van Dijk gone that I want a piece of it, and it won't be Jack Grealish that I want a piece of. So I look at him at 4.9. I think he's obviously worth. If someone said to me, "Is Dewsbury Hall worth 0.4 more than King or Potts or whatever?" It's like, well, yeah,
Yes.
So I probably want to get him back in as the 8th attacker. I think arguably the regret is that I gambled on Doku for 13, knowing there was every chance he'd only stay a week, rather than just going for Dewsbury Hall originally. But I'd be sitting there now going, I don't know what to do. And I think there's a lot of people who are in a position this week going, I quite like my team. I don't know what to do. I've got Nico O'Reilly sitting as third sub this week as it stands.
Yeah, I mean, you wildcarded with depth, didn't you, specifically? So I had Alderate. I left Alderate and Potts in from my wildcard because I didn't want to have that much of a headache each and every week. Dewsbury Hall has got Forest at home this week. So if I buy him...
He'd be sitting on the bench for me as well, if I buy him.
Probably bench him, but then Forest at home for Dewsbury Hall or Sunderland at home for Nico O'Reilly.
But
Man City team that just conceded 4 to Fulham and prior to that conceded 2 to Leeds.
Nico O'Reilly, I was at Newcastle Tuesday night. A lot of the reports I've had fed back was that Nico O'Reilly looked pretty tired Tuesday night.
Wasn't great.
They play Saturday. They're playing Madrid Tuesday. Then there's Palace next weekend. Right, I'm pretty confident Nico O'Reilly will play in the Bernabeu, play at Selhurst Park. Aït-Nouri goes to AFCON after that. I don't think Nico O'Reilly starts this weekend. That's why he's sitting as third sub. Dewsbury Hall would probably be going in sitting as second sub. Because the thing is as well is Rogbunham's suspended. So he's played deep this midweek. He probably plays deep again. But once we get forward a few weeks and then Dyer's disappeared, I think, he goes back into a more advanced position.
How many AFCON problems will you have, James?
I've just got Bumo.
Yeah, me too.
The chances are I'll cut him straight after the Wolves game. They've got Bournemouth at home 16, but I'll probably cut then. It does appear that it's been confirmed that AFCON players will be going after game week 16. Seems the word. We believe United requested that Bumo could even stay for game week 17 at Aston Villa. FIFA have put a legislation out saying that players should be allowed to go from the 15th of December. That is obviously Monday in 11 days. Manchester United play Bournemouth that night. We don't believe there'll be any issue with Bumo playing that fixture, particularly as Cameroon's first game at AFCON isn't actually till Christmas Eve. So it'll still be well over a week from United Bournemouth till Cameroon's first game. So I'm pretty confident we'll be able to play that. But I'm possibly cutting him, jump up to say Saka, 16.
Yeah, I might just move early on Saka. The only other thing that I could do is if I was to downgrade Declan Rice to Dewsbury Hall, go to Foden this week, and then Bumo to Bukayo Saka the week after. Villa away, we'll talk about. You're still on the stats train for Villa, saying that a hiding is coming. Arsenal were decent. Maybe Saka could do okay, but...
Listen to what I said on Monday. If you do not improve, variance will get you. Villa, from about the 30th minute last night, was terrific. They had 20% of their XG this season last night.
Really?
Yeah.
James is ready with the stats, so let's get talking about the games, shall we? What's your thoughts on that?
That's a prox, by the way. It's about 19.4% for those who want to be picky.
Decimal points. Should I go Foden this week and Saka next? Foden, then I've got for Sunderland at home, and then I'm buying Saka.
I won't be chasing Foden this week.
For Wolves.
I might come back for Foden for 17. I won't be chasing him this week.
Yeah, but then whilst I'm making the moves, it makes sense to go Foden for Sunderland at home rather than Saka for Villa away.
Unless Bumo's injured, that might change the equation for me, just for clarity.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? If Bumo went off today, let's say he was to get a 12-pointer or 15-pointer, it might even tempt me into taking a hit to get that done this week.
You ain't selling Bumo when he's about to play Wolves, mate.
No, that's true. No, but if you got injured.
If he got injured, yeah, there's every
If he
chance
got
I'd look
injured,
at
it'd force
Foden.
my
But
hand and I'd take a hit.
I
Yeah.
think he plays as well, by the way. The difference with him and O'Reilly is, I think with Pep, he said it plenty of times. He actually said it before they played Huddersfield in the Carabao Cup. He said, Phil Foden's in good momentum because a lot of people are like, why are you playing him at Huddersfield? And he played and he scored that night. He said that if he's in good momentum, I want to keep playing him. And he is at this moment. Now, it could be a case he goes, well, blimey, Bernabeu Tuesday might come into the thinking a little bit. But actually, yeah, I think Foden probably does play again. I think City change aspects of the team on Saturday, but probably not wholesale. Plus, you underestimate this Sunderland, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Price rises for Dewsbury Hall coming in tonight, apparently, according to live FPL. Thiago, Marino, Haaland, Dewsbury Hall, all due to rise today.
Well, just on that, just very briefly and quickly, Ragaboli made a point last night because those players were predicted to go up last night and didn't. He thinks there might be a consequence at the moment of kind of like a change to the algorithm because of the transfers being given for AFCON. And obviously everybody being forced into using the transfer basically this week, that it might be like a higher threshold for transfers to push it over. Yes, I'm sure those players will probably go up. So for me, I need to make a decision tonight probably if Dewsbury Hall's the one. I'll spend some time later looking at ideas in terms of alternatives.
Yeah, because Munoz, Guimaraes, Foden, also possible to hit threshold tonight. So keep an eye on it if you are listening to this before Thursday evening. Live FPL.net. Love it. I'm not a big analytics guy, but that's the one place where I like to have a cheeky look at effective ownership, and also the players that threaten my rank quite often. I do like to have a little look at that as well. Cool. Should we talk about some of these games, James?
Yes,
I love what the fantasy relevance is. Bournemouth 0, Everton 1. The curse of they need a win, don't they? They need to win. I said it on the differential show. Whenever I say a team needs to win, they lose.
They don't.
That's 4 out of 5. And in between that, sandwiched is the 2-2 draw with West Ham. 4 defeats out of 5.
We said on Monday
Bournemouth.
with like surprise, we were like, oh, Bournemouth are bottom half. How did that happen? And I think they're 14th now.
They
How
lost.
did that happen?
They lost the opening game against Liverpool, then didn't lose a game for 8, and then have lost 4 of their last 5. I mean, talk about Jekyll and Hyde blowing hot and cold.
Yeah, it very much sounded like Everton deserved this victory as well. As said, Dewsbury Hall played a deeper role in midfield alongside Irogbenham. Now, Irogbenham is suspended. Michael Keane missed the game. Apparently, he went into the Newcastle game with a minor injury. I'm sure there's some who would, he'll come in for Senesi this week. That'll be fine. And neither of them have played in this particular fixture. So we don't know the prognosis on Keane. I'm fairly sure with Irogbenham out, Moyes will, for this weekend, Moyes will be pretty desperate to try and get James Garner back into midfield. I said before, if those two get suspended at the same time, on top of Garner Gaze obviously serving a longer suspension, then that's a real big problem for them. Forest, therefore, might have some joy at Everton at the weekend. Irogbenham wasn't great against Newcastle, but I felt he was played too high strategically. Went lower alongside Dewsbury Hall in terms of this one. So if Keane's back, O'Brien back to right back, Garner in a central midfield role, he's probably Dewsbury Hall quite deep. And then something like Alcaraz, who's obviously played this game ahead of that. But I do think Dewsbury Hall's longer term prospects as a 4.9 midfielder are pretty good. Jack Grealish's goal won't help the bandwagon that I'm telling you will be there for Jack Grealish over Christmas once Ndiaye goes. Ndiaye goes to AFCON. Everton turn in some brilliant fixtures after they play Arsenal. Like, it is an outstanding run of fixtures they have. Burnley, Forest, Brentford, Wolves in a row. Villa, Leeds, Brighton after that. It's a brilliant run of fixtures. Yeah, I won't be chasing Jack Grealish. What he's got to do, my opinion, and a lot of it comes from instruction, is get him into that central area, and when he gets into it, pull the trigger more. Because he's very capable of scoring goals. But he doesn't get into those zones enough. I did this on a piece with David on the weekend prior to them going to Sunderland. Get Ndiaye and Grealish into them more central zones. You will have joy. And Ndiaye scored from a similar zone against Sunderland. Grealish, admittedly, yes, deflected against Bournemouth on Tuesday night. But good result. That's the first time they've won at Bournemouth, I think. in the Premier League. Good response to obviously the disappointment of the result against Newcastle. Bonkers stat on Everton for you, Suj.
Tell me.
Since David Moyes returned to the club, no one's won more away Premier League games than Everton.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah, fair play. Moyes is. I'm happy for the fact that he's done well there. I didn't think he would, but he has kind of shored them up. And Dyer's only had one attacking return now in 8 games, James. That was the one goal against Sunderland away. He really was flavour of the month a while ago, and has completely gone off the boil. I just don't see the value in Ndiaye or Grealish over Dewsbury Hall. Now, frustratingly,
Well, Dyer's going to AFCON, so there's no way you'd buy him now.
exactly that. I owned Dewsbury Hall all the way up until wildcard, and he did fuck all. And then I wildcarded in 12, and he scored 2 goals since, and he had an assist the week before when he was on my bench. So I've missed all of his points, but that's why I started in Gameweek 1 with him. Like he's a number 10 or an attacking midfielder for 5 million quid, and he's playing. Just leave it there, and even if he's on your bench, so be it. So actually, I think I'm going to go back to Dewsbury Hall.
I say no one will buy Ndiaye this week. Some will, actually, because, I mean, there's worse one-week punts. Yeah, but I think those who own will sell in 16, I would say. Keep an eye on Tierno Barry, by the way. I know he hasn't scored yet. He's cheap. He's getting closer and he's getting more consistent minutes now. I think he's kind of locking it down as Everton's first choice number 9. I think the fans there quite like him. You're just waiting for him to break that duck for goals now. I don't think he'll be a terrible one, actually, when those good run of fixtures come for Everton after they play Arsenal in 17.
Is Semenyo a panic? We're segueing into Bournemouth. He had an XGI of 0.41. He had an XGI of 0.6 against Sunderland. He missed the game, obviously, against West Ham, but then he had an XGI of 0.79 in the Villa game before that. He's in and around it in all of the last 3 games that he started, just no returns. Stick with it. Would that be your advice? Keeps dropping in value.
I think it depends where you sit. Yeah, so I mean, I told him a few weeks ago to take 7.7 and he's dropped to that last night. So I'm quite pleased with that. Even if I want to go back, I don't feel like I've lost anything.
Yeah, I'll only get 7.6 for him now, which I can stomach. But
the idea of feeling like you've got to have him is not there. He's had chances Tuesday night. He actually had one in the second half. Quite mad, but it's the first time I thought this about him. Why don't you just hit it hard, mate? He's tried to stroke one in the corner, so there's possibility even he's gone too far the other way. I think for those holding, all I'd say is hearing one repetitive theme from a few owners. I'm holding him for Burnley in game week 17. If that's your reason for holding, I'd move that on. Because the fixtures before and afterwards are shite, right? You've got Chelsea twice over the next 5, trips to United, trip to Brentford. The United away game, particularly, by the way, might actually be a good game for him. So if you're sitting there going, I'm holding him, I don't want to sell him, that's fine. What I'd say to people is, if you are thinking of holding just specifically for the Burnley home game in game week 17, you ain't going to find space clever in that particular fixture, and that wouldn't be the reason why I was holding on, personally. Because others will play Burnley and Leeds who have got better fixtures in and around it. If people want to hold, that's fine. No one's going to buy at this moment in time. For like those who come off, I think are sitting there going, all right, take your Defcon. Yeah, that's fine. They'll be better for having Senesi and Brooks back at the weekend against Chelsea, but Tyler Adams suspended. And that's a real big problem because obviously Lewis Cook's suspended as well. So Alex Scott is a certain starter in midfield. They might drop Marcus Tavernier back into a deep role alongside him, actually. I'm not quite sure what they do with that position at the weekend. And that's a shame because Chelsea possibly there for the taking with the week that Chelsea have had in terms of the amount of matches and the intensity of them this week. But Tyler Adams gives Bournemouth so much. If Tyler Adams had been available, I probably would have predicted Bournemouth to beat Chelsea this weekend. But without Adams, I wouldn't be confident in that. Krupi started up front, but I think that's probably rotation with Evan Nilsson. However, the consequence of the Adams suspension, it could be that it's Krupi and Evan Nilsson at the weekend, is a possibility if Andoni Iraola decides to set up that way. And it might sound a bit too brave, but actually, if he wants to go quite direct against Chelsea, he may well play the two of them up front together.
Let's see how that plays out. Should we talk about Fulham 4, Manchester City 5? Um, Mad game.
So
Mad game.
I went to go to the toilet at half time at St James's, and I knew before we started, I knew that City were winning 1-0, and I knew that Haaland had scored. The gasp in the ground as they put the scores up on the big screen, like Fulham 3, Man City 5. It's like I didn't know till
4-5.
no, it was 3-5. It was 5-3 at
Oh,
this point. They put the score up in the ground. Didn't know obviously anything that happened in between. And to be honest, the adrenaline after the end of the game, it was about 11:30, and I went, oh, what did City finish? Like, how did Everton
yeah,
get on?
yeah.
Saw 5-4 and saw that Fulham had made it 5-4 with 12 minutes to go, and thought, oh my god, that must have been complete chaos.
8 minutes at a time at the end as well. They, afterwards, Pep did his press conference, and then he said, "You guys are going to ask me what happened," and honestly, I don't know. Um, it was really quite a captivating watch, to be honest with you. I watched most of this before flicking in and out of your game. Guilty pleasures of watching Spurs get beaten by Newcastle is on my list. It's probably about 15th on my favourite things to do, but it's still on there. And they scored some good goals, City. Don't get me wrong, like Haaland's clinical, you can't muck around. His through ball from Reinders, who finished his goal, great. Foden's finished from the edge of the box. Give him space on his left foot. I've seen him put it in the top corner against the likes of Real Madrid. So don't do that. And you're like, okay, these guys are cruising in the first half to go 3-0. They didn't dominate enough to justify that. There may be 3-1 by half time. Smith Rowe's kind of consolation, it felt like. I'm not sure. It's funny because they made two changes at half time, Fulham, in Chukwueze, who then goes and scores two, and Castagne. And they dominated that second half. Like, they really, the intensity they played with and the pressure, like they had I'm sure it was 60+% possession in the second half, James. Did Fulham. Yeah, 66% in the second half. Not a huge amount of chances, but they were just the better team. City have done this before where they retreat, and they nearly got hurt at the weekend, and they nearly got hurt again here. A lot of Fulham's goals were long range, like great finishes from Iwobi and Chukwueze and what have you. So the XG didn't rack up a lot for Fulham, and it was a case of some really good finishing. But then City just seemed to make their lives really difficult. They did it at the weekend. They did it again here. They've definitely got firepower and goals, but yeah.
So I think they got to a stage where I think it was 5-2 Gonzalez came off.
Yeah.
And you're quite entitled at that point to think that you probably won the game. They're probably looking at what's coming, and Rodri's still absent at the moment, but we think he's close. I'm thinking, let's get him off the pitch while we can, because they can't really afford to play without him at the moment, with Kovacic also injured. And then it feels like it's obviously spiraled from there. It's worth saying the Fulham goals are kind of free distance goals. They're not like shots long distance, but they're all kind of edge of the box.
Edge of the box. Stuff. Yeah.
That go through crowded bodies and stuff like that. So it weren't like they were huge chances. I mean, I think Fulham's XG on the night was actually under 1, I think. Yeah. And you can look at the other one. Haaland's hit the inside of the post twice. Like he could have hauled more. So it sounds like a strange, bonkers game, but City have too many vulnerabilities. And you're right. This phase they go into once they're in front in the second half of almost ceding possession, it makes me very uncomfortable. I think it's a trust element of what's behind them. Don't want to get it isolated in terms of like 1v1 duels, people going over the top against them when we're winning. Think of some of the kind of real shitty performances they had this time last year. Was it final? They were leading 3-0 with like 8 minutes to go and drew 3-3 at the Etihad. And they conceded some wild goals because they kept playing forward. I think those sort of matches have had a kind of a lasting kind of imprint on Pep, where he's happy to cede possession. Also, the counter of that is it is easier to get Haaland into space if you are drawing the opposition onto you. So they obviously go more direct now. But I would prefer City that I know, 3-goal lead, you don't need to retreat. Mm-hmm. Just keep popping the ball about for fun. Psychologically, you're going to kill the opponent. So, yeah, for me, no one's a challenger, unfortunately. But they've got too many vulnerabilities. I said this to you on Monday. You've got too many vulnerabilities. And I know this, if they take a real chance against Sunderland with the team at the weekend, they'll drop points. Sunderland going to go there with absolutely no fear. Easy could have won that at Liverpool last night. So I think there's a few players I think that definitely do play for City. I'm sure Haaland plays. I think Doku probably plays, considering he was withdrawn sort of 65-ish. But I would add the note that I know that Pep will want to play him in the Bernabeu. Foden, I think, will play because of what I'd said earlier about the momentum. O'Reilly's the big one. I think, yeah, that's liable for a rest, I think. But I don't think he's going to change too many for this. I think it's going to be right. Get through these two games and then can breathe a little bit before they play the game at Crystal Palace. Fulham, great effort to obviously recover, and actually they'll almost feel like it's like a glorious defeat, isn't it? They were under real pressure going into the Sunderland game. They won that. They deserved to win at Tottenham. Obviously, put this kind of almost epic comeback together in this fixture. So Fulham fans will probably have gone home pretty happy, I'm going to guess, actually. So that positive mindset stays for what's now a good run of fixtures. Palace at home is kind of not the start of that. And obviously, remember the Gameweek 15 fixtures reversed in 19. The three fixtures in the middle of that, Burnley, Forest, West Ham, are good. Harry Wilson's not out of contention for me, Suj, as we discussed a little bit on Monday. Raul Jimenez is a consideration for me in 16, potentially. And obviously, Joachim Anderson will be a contender for me as well if I decide to downgrade in a defensive area. And I may well do. That's possible that I look at. I know a lot of people want to go to O'Reilly, but for this particular period, I might even look at O'Reilly to Anderson to change the money up a little bit.
Yeah, there's nothing with City that fills me with defensive confidence, but you do buy a player like Nico O'Reilly for attacking returns as much as you do for defensive stuff. But I'm happy to bench him, to be honest with you. And it's a lot of money to then say I'm happy to just bench, but he's not my biggest problem right now. I do get what you're saying about maybe Wilson from Fulham. The only thing is, like, so you've got Iwobi that's played out on the left now. Chukwueze's come on and scored a couple of goals. You've got Kevin, record signing,
so
coming off the bench all the time.
side.
There are a lot of options on the flanks for Fulham that mean that at any
have an
moment
alternative. They don't have an alternative like Harry Wilson.
No, he's a different style of player, but I could see them mixing it about. Look, Josh King's been benched and Smith Rowe started this one, though I think that was just a bit of rotation. They do have options out there that makes me think, do I want to pay that little bit extra? Are you talking about instead of Dewsbury Hall?
Yeah.
Wilson's 5.2, Dewsbury
Yeah.
Hall 4.9. So it'd be an alternative.
Do you know what
They've
I don't
got
like
good
about
fixtures.
The biggest thing I don't like about it is psychologically it plays on your mind is. I think if I got him at 16 to 18, I'd be quite happy to play him in those fixtures. And there's every chance I would play him in 16 to go to Burnley.
Yeah.
But I'm probably playing Dubravka that week.
Right, okay.
So I think
Against each
apart
other.
and invest in it, yeah.
But yeah, that Burnley away, Forest at home, West Ham away, three good fixtures that you could play him in.
I bet he does well in one of them. But he also has been carrying a little bit of a problem, so I also wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Should we at Newcastle 2, Spurs 2 at Desmond, James. Watching periods of this game as well, flicking between Fulham and City. Newcastle should have won it. They were the better team, to be honest with you. I mean, there's no question.
Yeah, let me sell it to you like this. The point should have gone to Newcastle, but I wouldn't necessarily say that Newcastle deserved to win, if that makes sense.
They were a bit frustrating. Like owning Voltemade and stuff, I'm like, come on, guys. You're like fluffing it right at the end, or you're not quite there. I feel like if Guimaraes had started the game and Gordon had started the game, then they would have probably won it quite comfortably, because when those two were on the pitch, they were able to take it up a level. Voltemade was a little bit frustrating. Jacob Murphy, just a little bit annoying, but clearly they were the better team. I did have eyes on Lewis Hall as well. He played really well. He's a good player, isn't he? And what have you.
Final bit of distribution let him down a few times, but yeah, I did think about it during the game. I was thinking, yeah, like if we can take Hall and O'Reilly to the World Cup, we've got no concerns in that position.
No, definitely. But then, look, you've been able to stick in and around it and get the 2 goals of Romero to come away with a draw. You'll take that point all day long, because a point at St James's is decent. Yeah.
I think with Newcastle, the problem they're having a little bit is, stale is not the right word. I think they've become very predictable. So depending on the profile of player that they have in the wide areas. So like Murphy can draw inside a little bit more. If it's a Langer, it's more like a flyer in behind. I feel like they've become predictable in terms of what they are specifically off the ball is the biggest one. And so many teams are going more and more aggressive off the ball in terms of when teams play out from goal kicks, like going aggressive man to man. And a lot of that, by the way, is a lot of copycat in Newcastle. So I think there's a lot of looking the same as them, but it's only that element at the top end. The trick with Newcastle always is that bit is the roughest. Most teams should go to St James's Park and just fucking take goal kicks long. And just because if you get down and sat in their half, they just retreat. And they have a weakness. I've done this a little bits on this on Talking Tactics recently about Newcastle. Where they vary is there a 4-5-1 in mid-block. And it's fine to an extent that it's difficult to play through the 5. But if you play through the 5, there is more space between their midfield and defence than what you get against most others, unless defenders are aggressive. Now, theirs are, so a Burn or Chow will go and follow up, and quite often they'll get away with it. But if there's any hesitancy, they're so done so regularly in that area. And I think that's why they're getting hurt quite a bit, particularly in some away games. So I think they've become quite predictable. It's obvious to know what they're going to be off the ball. And I think that's playing against them a little bit. And I think, yes, in terms of chances in the game, they probably should have won it. But I didn't look at it, oh, Newcastle's been great. I go up there a lot, and most of the time you go up there and you feel like you can't breathe. Actually, I didn't really feel like that Wednesday. For me, on Tuesday, they felt like they were intensity level below what I've seen from them previously. And that's possible consequence. It might have been to our benefit that we've played them when they just played another game 3 days earlier. But they also spent a lot of that game knowing that they'd won that game and could retreat and sit off and stuff. So I think although Newcastle should have won, I think the feedback I've had from most Newcastle fans is actually being pretty disappointed with their performance. And a lot of them have said to me, I think you deserve something out of the game. So, but I think that's a consequence of them being disappointed in their own team rather than thinking, oh, Tottenham were great. In terms of Newcastle FPL assets, obviously Tonali went off at half time. That's not an asset. But there's every chance he won't start against Burnley at the weekend. Now, Gimares will start either way. There is a consequence, though, that if Tonali's out, that Miley probably plays again. Now, Lewis Miley's worth really keeping an eye on, by the way, Suj, at 4.4. That's not an option for me as an enabler to put in this week. So I've got 3 Newcastle, so that's an obvious no for me. But others might want to consider it. He is a very different profile player to their other midfielders. And I think there's a willingness now to try and get him in this team. Joe Linton, I forgot he was playing a few times. And you can't forget Joe Linton.
No, usually
even
he's
if he's
involved
not good
in
on the ball,
scraps of some sort.
Yeah, exactly that. You feel like you're in a war with him. He made a movement inside with the ball in the second half, and I kind of jolted like I can't remember last time he touched the ball. Just felt like he was largely anonymous to me, and I wouldn't be surprised if Miley's now knocking on the door, potentially getting to that 11. A consequence, of course, if Miley does play again against Burnley, you might have Gimares in the 6th position. Gimares in the 6th position, it didn't stop him scoring against Tottenham at the weekend, on Tuesday, and it hasn't stopped him in other games. Unlike other 6s who sit, if the opportunity is there, he will go between the 2 8s and push on. But it is not as good as it might look if you played as the right-sided 8, for example, because then he's always got license to go.
Yeah.
Voltamade, 90%-ish confident it will start. The word from Keith Downey, who's quite well attached and in the know with Newcastle, seems to be that Johan Visser has played a behind closed doors match and hopes to be in the squad this weekend. No chance of him starting, but he might be in the squad. And obviously it could be a potentially good game if they're in a comfortable position to give him some minutes, quite possibly. And I'm sure they'd rather do that in front of the home crowd than say Sunderland away next week. It'd be a bit like baptism and fire. By the way, he's not been called into the Democratic Republic of Congo's AFCON squad.
Yep, so he stays.
So he's sticking around, but they're going to build up his fitness. Somewhere along the line, that's going to eat up some of Voltamade's minutes. But Voltamade here, assist for Gimares, header off the line. I don't know about you, but I thought he was going to take the penalty as well.
Well, I don't know if I thought he was or hoped he was or both. But yeah, shame.
I see Vicario died the right way again.
Any
Gary Mantle did correctly point out to me that in his first season he dived the right way and nearly saved a penalty from Palmer. That's true. So he's regressed since then.
No Spurs assets on radar for you?
Do me a favour.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Brentford, obviously, we'll talk about them in a second when we talk about Arsenal, Brentford. But they changed system, but I think it was almost like, what do you do when you go to the Emirates? Whereas when they come to your place, they'll be playing a different formation to what they did at the Emirates and trying to go for the win.
Yeah. What needs to happen now with Tottenham is a little bit more consistency. So the formation was different again. This was basically kind of 4-2-4 with two high wide players. So Johnson, I thought would play, actually played off the left, and Kudus off the right. And it kind of might have looked to the naked eye like Bergvall 10 and Mawani 9, but actually they were just 10s. They played as kind of withdrawn, almost like Firmino roles, if you call them, but in the half spaces. So the idea was to kind of pin back Newcastle's fullbacks, keep the two wide players really high, and they were dropping short. So on the eye, it was like, well, there's opportunities here, but Tottenham really struggled to get the ball to Bergvall and Mawani to then get turned and get the one-on-ones in the wide areas and stuff. So strategically, it's 4 games in a row, and it's not that he's changed for, I'm telling you, all 4 games he's played a different system. All completely different. Now, we knew this period would be rough. That's fine that what he's done is decided to go tactically different for these. PSG tactics worked. I think largely the tactics on Tuesday were okay as well, although ball progression, because individually, is still a big problem. Not coincidence, though, by the way, that the 2 games we played well in, PSG and Newcastle, Paulinho didn't play, and the 2 games we were terrible in, Arsenal and Fulham, he did play. Sorry to say that, but it's the truth. Now it needs to find a little bit of consistency. You can still have moving parts. He wants left winger to come into 10. Now it's about what we do with the ball. The fixture list now eases from here. Tottenham now got to show something to all of us. Otherwise, a little bit like the performance in PSG was good. Fulham was like wet fish in the face again. They have to play well and they have to beat Brentford on Saturday. Otherwise, wet fish back in the face again. No, there is no Tottenham player I would consider for a 1-week punt. Romero's equaliser is funny as hell. I mean, brilliant on the first one. I don't know why he ends up in that position, but whatever. It's a great header. The second one, I mean, what is that as a goal?
It's your team. You tell us.
It's a shin bicycle kick. And from my brilliant tactical perspective up to the gods, and I was just right of goal behind it, I could see it was in and that Ramsdale couldn't see it. Newcastle will concede more goals with Aaron Ramsdale in goal than Nick Pope. No doubt about that whatsoever. We had 2 shots on target.
And
both
2
from
goals.
The centre-back. So, I mean, it's 4 games in a row now. We haven't had a shot on target in the first half. That's what I'm saying. Like, performance and result has to be better on Saturday. Yeah, I understand Newcastle fans' calls for, like, frustration with Nick Pope. And Aaron Ramsdale will give Newcastle different layers in terms of his ball distribution. He's better. Yeah, Kinski's ball distribution is better than Vicario, but I don't want Kinski in goal. And Newcastle, for those who want to buy Malik Chow now, I wouldn't.
Okay.
Personally, I wouldn't. While Ramsdale's in goal, they'll concede more goals. There's a reason he was backup goalkeeper at Arsenal and was sold and went to another team who got relegated and stuff, I'm afraid to say. It'd be a great number 2 goalkeeper, but that's what he should be for a club of Newcastle size.
Let's talk about that Arsenal team. Arsenal 2, Brentford 0. Obviously, issues with both centre-backs out. Mosquera and Hincapié playing in the middle. Ben White comes in at right back. Odegaard is the captain, but whether Odegaard is first choice or Eze's first choice, toss a coin. You got Martinelli coming in on the left. He's probably second choice because Trossard's played more out there. You got Madueke coming in because Saka was obviously rested. Marino's not even a striker. He's a midfielder. And yet, to be honest, mate, that was training game.
I don't know if we maybe should start considering Marino as a striker.
Well, he's better than most strikers in a lot of teams, to be honest with you. His movement for the first goal to get in and stuff, the ball through for Saka, like he's good. And then you've got Saka coming off the bench. You've got Eze coming off the bench. Sorry, James, this is like...
No, it's only shit that I've told you for
Mosquera
months.
gets injured, Timber's the one coming on to replace him, and obviously Gokeres gets minutes as well. They dominated this. I honestly, when they were one up at the end of the second half, I thought they'd go on to comfortably score 2 or 3 more. They didn't. I think Brentford played into that, like playing 5 at the back, kind of 5-3-2, no Thiago. It's kind of like, what are we going to do? The Emirates is a problem now where people change what they're going to try and do because they don't really know how they're going to beat Arsenal, and still got dominated. So, yeah, I wouldn't read anything into Brentford. I just think they lacking Thiago and playing 5 at the back was a specific thing.
No, it sounds like Brentford did all right. And I think probably if you could have offered Brentford a position where to go into the final 5 minutes and only be 1-0 down, they'd have probably taken that.
Yeah, but they didn't have any threat, James.
No, that's fine.
It's doing all right. Okay, just being 1-0 down to Arsenal. Like when we went there, we lost 2-0, but
it was obvious what part strategy would be because Brentford are strong at set plays as well. I mean, Raya makes an absolutely brilliant save from Kevin Schade in the first half.
That's almost all of Brentford's XG is that one header. You know,
fine.
Apart from that,
how many teams do go there and create loads?
Yeah, this is it. This is the point. As you go to the Emirates, you're screwed. Like Brentford will be completely different against you guys at the weekend. So I read nothing into like you think, okay, Thiago didn't start or they blanked and they've lost 2-0. Just put it out of your mind because it's Arsenal away and Arsenal will do that to most people with their second string. And then Arsenal, obviously now Saka comes back into the team. Maybe Eze comes back into the team. Trossard comes back into the team. Timber comes back into the team.
Timber will all start at Villa.
Does Gokeres get minutes now instead of Marino? I mean...
I don't know. I think the kindest thing I could say about Marino, and this isn't a disrespect, and it was meant as a huge compliment, they have not missed Kai Havertz. And it's not because of others, it's specifically because of Marino. Mm-hmm. And the thing with Marino, I kind of reflects on this and back to comments I made about how he drifts into like the right-hand channel is what he did against Tottenham. And I said to you at the time, Gyökeres can't do that. So if Emery wants, right, Gyökeres, you're going to go and play right up and be a nuisance in and around the box and pin yourself against Konsa, or probably even better would be Pau Torres at the weekend, Gyökeres will play. If Arteta doesn't want that profile forward, Marino's going to play again. Do you read anything into the fact that Marino stayed on the pitch towards the end and played in a little bit more of a drawn role, which actually leads to him obviously assisting Bukayo Saka late in the game? I don't know.
It's hard. It's this just so much depth. It's Pep Roulette all over again, just with red and white shirts. I wouldn't
buy any Arsenal this week, personally. Like what you've got, you probably play in most scenarios. If you've got Marino, you could bin that, but I would be fine to play it again. If you've got Saka, Eze, they'll play this weekend. I'm sure you'll have half an eye on what they've got in terms of game week 16 afterwards. So
yeah, the thing is, the only one that I would say, okay, you don't buy, but if you own Declan Rice, let's say, like me, and say he's ruled out for the weekend, and I've got the 2 free transfers, if the sideways move is to get up to Saka, then I would do that potentially, because that keeps me ahead of game week 16. If I said
to you now, Declan Rice is a big doubt for this weekend, but it will definitely play against Wolves in 16. What are you going to do with him?
Well,
I get it. You've got 5 free transfers. You could go somewhere else.
This is it, right? If I didn't have the 5 free transfers turning up,
then there's value representation in that as well. Possibly, most people who are on him are maybe up in value as well. So
yeah, I'm only up a little bit, not enough to matter.
Arsenal will want to play whatever Arteta thinks is close to his strongest team. That's why there was always liable to be some rotation in this one, because the Villa game's a priority. Remember as well, they're in an amazing position in the Champions League. They've won every game. Bruges is quite a challenging game next midweek. And I think we can only react to the Wolves game after the Villa and the Bruges games have gone. But remember, after the Wolves game, they then don't play for a week afterwards as well. So, yeah, I'm not sure I'd be buying Arsenal this week. That's not on my intention. But I'll be looking at game week 16 for sure, no doubt about it. Brentford, I don't know what I kept saying on Monday. They've got nice spacing, because they don't, right? They obviously play my team this weekend. So it's obviously a 3-day turnaround. Keith Andrews left a few key players out here, which I'm fairly kind of like with Arsenal. We're saying Timber, Eze, Saka definitely come back in. I'm sure for Brentford, Collins, Henderson, Thiago all come back in. Collins and Sade, by the way, remember, one yellow card from a ban. So's Ricardo Calafiori, by the way. I imagine they would go back to a back four against Tottenham at the weekend, but Andrews will know Thomas Frank and what he might want to do as well as anybody else, right? So there might be the kind of bit of gamesmanship from that perspective going into the game at the weekend where one may try and surprise the other. Or, based on what I know so far from Thomas Frank, they'll both try and bloody cancel each other out is also a possibility. Thiago comes back in the team. I do think there's a small chance Sade might not play if they decide to stick with this system.
Yeah, I don't think they will.
They'll probably go back to a back four.
I think they'll be more aggressive against you lot. I think they'll come in with the front foot, like we'll try and win this game as opposed to here, which is let's try not to lose this game and then nick something if we can.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Brighton 3, Aston Villa 4. James, you watched this, and you're right to say, yeah, you probably picked the best game to watch yesterday. I mean, an XG of 2.2 versus 2.4, 9 big chances in the game, 30-odd shots in the game, 7 goals in the game.
Terrific game. Shout out one of our patrons, James K, who's a Villa fan, who messaged on our Slack when Brighton were 2-0 up. He said, I don't know what I'm going to be more annoyed about, the fact that we're losing to Brighton or the fact that James is going to be smug on the podcast tomorrow talking about Villa and their variants.
Yeah, and I told him I'd remind him about Guimaraes getting benched.
Well, don't worry, I've done it for you. I'm not going to lie. I saw that message and I did piss myself laughing because I was sitting there thinking, yeah, told you. And Brighton deserved.
They told you in the end, mate.
Yeah, no, absolutely they did.
Yeah.
But I think I know why. Brighton deserved that lead at that stage. Villa obviously somewhat hampered by obviously losing Emi Martinez in the warm up to who was at fault for the first goal, Marco Bizot. Shit goal from a set play. Then Brighton played through them so easily on the second goal as well. And I thought, yeah, okay. Emery Suj was losing his mind. They panned to him around about, I can't remember if it was just after the first goal that Villa scored, but I think it was probably just before, and he was losing his mind. You know, like when you see someone, they don't know what to do with their hands and they start pulling at them stuff. It was like he was going to take his coat off, like he didn't know what to do with himself. He was screaming at his own players. He was absolutely losing his mind because they were getting beat on like every second ball. And I don't know if it jolted them because from that moment onwards, they were fantastic, Villa. Morgan Rogers got hold of it and started carrying, picking up into nice half spaces. Watkins, helped by the goal, looked like a threat and takes the equalising goal absolutely brilliantly, which came from a carnage passage of play where Konsa hit the post. Brighton broke. I think it was Gruder had the shot. Minter made a terrible run. He should have stayed on the outside of him, went the other way. Sky pans to the bloody replay, comes back off the replay, and all I saw was Watkins firing the ball in the net. He's played from a brilliant ball over the top from Morgan Rogers. And then from there, just their intensity, everything was up. They created loads of chances in the second half. By the time they were 4-2 up, couldn't will against them in any way. They thoroughly deserved to be in that position. So when I said about variance will get you, in reference to, say, Tottenham, when I spoke about it with Tottenham, I said to you, if the performances do not improve, the results are inevitable. And that, I think, was the case for Villa. But yesterday, arguably, I mean, it's probably definitely their best away performance of the season. But I think even like when they beat Bournemouth 4-0, it was like, okay, deserved that. It wasn't a 4-0 game, like Semenyo missed a penalty and stuff like that. That, for an hour last night, was really, really good from Villa. Much, much better. Carried a big threat offensively. Lots of good stuff in terms of second balls. Defended better, both individually and collectively as well. Yeah, good. I couldn't look at them last night and not think anything other than, well, you should probably finish fourth. Are they third now, Villa, I think?
They're third. They've jumped up over Chelsea, 27 points. Yeah, man, they're on and 8 wins in 9, having not won any of their first 5. So, they're really
Villa
on a march. They're only 1 point behind Man City.
Villa with momentum is quite a powerful team. I think Tielemans will probably play 10 position against Arsenal, and they'll play Onana and Kamara, I think they'll be willing to do that. By the way, no surprise that things started getting a bit worse for Villa towards the end of the game after Kamara had gone off, by the way, as well. Rodgers will play left, McGinn right. I don't know if Watkins will play again. Dean will probably come back in at left back. I think the Villa team's probably quite predictable this weekend from that perspective. Watkins, quite interesting. You seen this story that Jacob Tanswell's reported this week?
No.
About Watkins. So I think we've now got our explanation for what's been going on. Essentially, Ollie Watkins has been injured for a year. He's in constant pain with a knee problem, apparently, that doesn't need surgery, but is being managed. And that's why things like not starting home games like Young Boys and Wolves consecutively, where you think, well, you got the rest against Young Boys, we'll definitely play against Wolves. Villa have chosen fixtures to probably look at that and go, we can manage this better without Watkins. We really want Watkins for Brighton away and then presumably Arsenal at home. So he's in pain constantly. He's how it sounds. Play. Well, I think you'd have to look at it and say, if he's been in pain for a year, right, you're going to have to deal with this at some point. Now, yesterday, when you watched his second goal, that looked like Ollie Watkins at his peak. So maybe it just needed someone to come out publicly and say, he's playing with a problem, but he's all right. And maybe it's also benefited the fact that he's had over a week off going into that game last night. But yeah, at any point, if we're thinking about, Ollie Watkins, game week 16, 1 week punt and stuff, we've got to be aware that because it's that type of fixture that he might not play, and B, at some point, it's going to need to get dealt with. For Brighton, disappointing night, but things went against them. So like Shimas, who scored at Forest, started and played all right, went off with what looked like a knee injury, planted his foot really badly. He walked off the pitch fairly fine. I wouldn't be surprised if that's an ACL, unfortunately. Touch wood for him, it's not, because he's a young boy. They really missed Ayari last night. Really missed him. He had a minor knock and missed the game. Coupled on top of Rutter had this kind of head knock at the weekend. Hertzler thought like concussion protocols was probably he was going to pass them. I'm assuming he didn't. So to have lost Ayari and Rutter from essentially two of the three that played centrally at Forest hurt. And obviously you were taking Welbeck out of that as well. And when Shimas went off, there was a big kind of collective debate on the side of the pitch about putting Welbeck on or not. And they obviously all agreed that like an hour was too much for him. And they brought Jack Hinshelwood on instead. So there were things in the game that went against Brighton, I think gave a little bit of mitigating for the stuff that happened. And then Villa sensed the opportunity and took that really well in terms of their aggression to the game. They didn't let Brighton breathe at all in midfield. But I think we should remember Brighton had a few players last night that were a miss. Suddenly you're taking basically Welbeck, Matoma, Ayari, Rutter, kind of all that. You're going to struggle a little bit more. They gave up way too many chances. As I said, Verbruggen's conceded 4, but he's made 6 saves.
Yep. All right, well, look.
Oh, Minter, just quick. Sorry, he was too wide. So at Forest, that they were holding him high on the line and he was always a ball over the top. So I'm watching that drooling, thinking, well, against Villa, spacing behind is going to be there. And it never equated. He was too wide all the time. And when they were like really chasing the equaliser and stuff, I was thinking, he ain't coming through Minter. Now, I look at it and think, well, he's playing against Diouf most likely at the weekend. 1v1s if Brighton can circulate for him, considering if Somerville's not back, what's playing on that side with Diouf for you, then I still think he'll probably have a good weekend. But I tell you what, if you just watched that last night, you wouldn't go and buy Ian Cooper Minter.
He's not going to have a good weekend.
If you watched the Forest game, you probably would.
Yeah, he's not going to have a good weekend. Somerville's not available for tomorrow night. Now, I'll tell you what did Brighton do in home games against teams that they should beat?
You're not putting Villa in that category, are you?
No. I'm putting West Ham in that category.
But
Brighton fuck up their home games against the low opposition that they should beat. That's my hope, James, is that Brighton continue to win the games at home that they shouldn't win and lose the ones that they should. That's their historical track record. So come on.
Okay,
West Ham
well, they
going to do
beat
the
Leeds
business.
3-0 the other week at home.
Yeah, they
So
did. And they did lose to Aston Villa, who maybe they would have considered. So let's talk about Burnley nil, Palace 1. James, I didn't obviously catch any of this really, other than little bits
no,
and pieces
same.
of highlights. Stats don't make it sound like a thriller. Neither team got up to 1xG. They both had two big chances. We talk quite a lot about double Arsenal defence. Top scorers in the game, 14 points Munoz, 14 points Gahey, 9 points Richards, 8 points Lacroix. Mitchell is always the more forgotten Palace defender because he only got 6 points. Double Palace defence? Should that just be the norm?
I think FPL GOAT, I haven't seen this team, but I saw one of our patrons say it last night. FPL GOAT, Ben Crellin, I think free hitted with treble Palace defence.
Go for it. I bet he got
and
Munoz, Gahey and Richards as well.
And I'm not saying he's a sheep, but I think Clayton did the same.
Did he?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen Clayton's team for the week, but when you go Burnley away, I mean, they're monster hauls for those guys with the assist for Gahey and the BPS and the goal
Truthfully,
for Munoz.
if you had a backline just of Arsenal and Crystal Palace players moving forward, and you took the rough with the smooth, you'll have more smooth than rough.
Yeah, I did the toy with if you were to go blanket defensively and just go 5-2-3 as your formation, sack off the midfield and just have your midfield of Potts, King, Dewsbury Hall, and then two half decent players. What would that look like longer term?
Long term, but if there's nothing to say go against that or Palace double defensive.
Look, Palace's fixtures: Fulham away, good clean sheet odds. City at home, not great, but then Leeds away, Tottenham at home, Fulham at home. So that's 4 of the next 5 you could easily see.
If Salah had been fit for it, in fact, Salah could in theory play that game against City. If he did, I'd fancy Palace to beat City.
Yeah.
It's just that transition element, whether it'll be the
same. It's at their stadium. Yeah, it's at Selhurst. So, yeah, possibly, maybe, yeah. Decent here for a decent. We did think it might be a difficult game, and they've come away 1-0, done the business, get out of there.
Highly likely to go to high scoring defender very soon as well,
and then get suspended.
Probably, yeah. Then it'll be Lacroix, yeah, and then Gabriel will be back. So, yeah, I've screamed a lot that I think Lacroix is a great choice. Actually, part of my problem, I'm not that I would do it this week, but if I end up going say ciao to Lacroix in a few weeks, I'm almost too strong because I'm kind of setting up Van Dijk as ready for when Gabriel's back. If I went over Lacroix, I've just got an even bigger headache this week. Sorry if my audio's briefly changed there, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, your mic had a fit, but you're back. Don't worry, we've got your dulcet tones again.
So yeah, all of them defensively good. Those are on Richards, he's ticking over absolutely fine, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, they're all good. I was even thinking a lot of people asking about goalkeepers at the moment. I don't know who to go. Dean Henderson has solved a lot of your problems. What a save that is from Brun Larson as well. He gets little fingertips on it. A sensational save. He sets himself really quickly and well. They're all good. Mateta's the only one to consider offensively at the moment. I don't know if people are getting itchy feet about that now. And the fact that Kamada played in the 10 position rather than Pino, guess what that means? And Ketcher is going to keep eating Mateta's minutes.
Yep.
Now, personally, if you've got good value on him, I'm just leaving him at the moment. But also, I wouldn't be running to him at the moment.
He will be my make weight for Thiago, possibly, James.
Waiting 16.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
I can understand that.
Yeah, he can score anytime, any place, Mateta. It doesn't fill me with I want to bomb him out, or I've got any real animosity towards selling Mateta. But yeah, I don't want the headache of rotated minutes, and I feel like going to Thiago then would possibly be a good choice. And I've got all these transfers to use. I may as well be aggressive with them. That's what I'm going to be looking at.
Just cut the notes on Burnley before we move on. No Twanzebe last night. Ekdal played. Not sure the prognosis on this at the moment, but obviously Twanzebe is scheduled to go to AFCON as well. So Ekdal presumably will play with Esteve quite a bit moving forward. They've played basically Lyle Foster behind. Zian Fleming in this one. Jaden Nancy come back into the game. Into the team? Sorry. Have you seen Munoz's goal, Suj?
No,
Oh, you haven't seen the goal.
no, I didn't watch the highlights.
Okay. Do you remember Pedro Neto's goal at Burnley a couple of weeks ago?
No.
Back post header. Honestly,
Okay.
it's like a replay.
Do you think
The
they've
two
got back
goals are near
post issues?
identical. So I don't know if there's anything in that in terms of a back post problem. Obviously, Neto and Munoz are kind of not really comparable from player, but in terms of attacking that space on from the right hand side and across coming in from left half space, bent in right foot over the top, and almost player attacking it on the far side, heading it into the far corner. I put the two goals next to each other, almost look like an action replay. So I don't know if there's a little bit of an issue there for Burnley, and also if they're not getting those kind of little basics right, you're going to struggle. They're not going to score that many goals. I think that's clear. They do have good strength through the spine of the team, but you look at say Leeds last night and you think I'm not sure Burnley's capable of that sort of thing. So
Yeah, Burnley and
concerns for
Wolves
them.
looking
But
quite doomed.
they won't like get annihilated at Newcastle at the weekend. They'll go there and make it tough,
But they're not likely to
but
win.
they're not likely to get anything. No.
No. Let's talk about Wolves 0, Forest 1. Another fixture where Wolves have thought like if we're getting nothing out of these games, then you're doomed. It's going to get talked about from now until the end of the season. But yeah, I fancy a cheeky little fiver on them not to beat Derby's total at the moment, based on the way it's going for them.
It is now the worst start in Premier League history for a team after 14 games. Same points as I think Sheffield United had a few years ago. But Wolves' goal difference is worse. Yeah, they're done. I'm afraid to say.
And fantasy, there's not even a consideration on anything there.
I'll give you one, truthfully. In terms of enablers, keep an eye on the young boy Mane, 4.5. He's had a couple of sub appearances recently, and I wouldn't be surprised actually with the way their season's going if he gets in the team soon.
Okay.
8 for Taka, obviously. No one's suggesting. I'm not suggesting buy him and get him in. Am I saying he's better than King Parts? No. I'm saying you can keep an eye on him at 4.5. No, you wouldn't look defensively. They're not good enough. And here's the good news. Their best player, and by the way, I have seen him get criticised a lot last night, but their best player is suspended for Monday now as well, in João Gomez.
Mm-hmm.
The great Menezzi, he of Clash of Correspondence legendary status, Mr. Menezzi, he came on with 5 minutes to go and didn't even make it to the end of the game. Didn't finish the game. Possible injury. They don't look like scoring goals. Has Larson got a league goal this season? I know he spent quite a bit of that injury.
No.
Has he even scored?
No. He scored in the Carabao Cup against us, but I don't think he's got a single league goal.
Arias missed a great headed chance at 0-0. And actually, they did all right at 0-0 against Palace. They did all right at 0-0 against Villa as well. So do you know what? First few games under Rob Edwards, they've been competitive in these games. But they haven't scored. And if you wanted manager bounce, it's not existed. And United assets, you know, I can imagine if Cunha was to have a good night tonight, I can imagine he's one that would pick up a bit of traction in terms of attention going into this weekend. They are unfortunately comfortably the worst team in this league at the moment, and it's that bad that yes, you can have that conversation now, Suj, but you won't get rich off having that bet.
Yeah, probably not.
I hope that they beat that total.
Mm. Any love for any Forest or not so much? I mean, you tipped up Hutchison.
And he played well.
And he's obviously got the assist as well for Jesus' goal.
Yeah, keep an eye on that. He's not one for me this week because Everton away is not going to be like, oh, I'm either going enabler and I think he's a little bit above what I want from that perspective, 5-4. He's more like 7th attack or a rotator. I want something a bit cheaper, really. But yeah, as I said, I think he's really worth keeping an eye on, actually. Amari Hutchinson. I think he'll begin to play regularly now. And were I to invest in Forest defensively, yeah, I would take a chance on him at the moment. It's a great result for them considering Morato played again because Murillo didn't make it. They'll need Murillo at Everton. If they have him, they have a sneaky that Forest might do well at Everton at the weekend, which will drive Everton fans bonkers because then it'll be, well, how have we won a Bournemouth and
And then lost at
who,
home
who did
to
they? Who did?
Forest, or
Oh, man,
didn't
they
beat
were
Forest at
brilliant at
home.
Manchester United, and then potentially lose at home to Newcastle, and then maybe Forest afterwards. Yeah, I have an inkling Forest might do quite well at Everton at the weekend. Yeah, Hutchinson would be the one I'd chase, but realistically at the moment, it's a no from me.
Okay. So about Leeds 3, Chelsea 1. I was very reluctant switching this game on, James, because I was quite enjoying Arsenal Brentford, to be honest. They were playing good football, and you
Please
had
tell me you
WhatsApp
switched it
me.
on because you told me this is what you'd watch,
No,
so I'd let
well,
you have
hang
it.
on. You asked me what I was going to watch in the evening, and I didn't want to tell you that I'd rather watch Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So I said, all right, fine. I've told James I'm going to watch Leeds Chelsea. I will watch Leeds Chelsea. Um, Stats wise, less than 30% possession for Leeds, but they racked up an XG of nearly 2.8 versus Chelsea not even getting to one.
Hold up. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's got like 1.01 on his goal, wasn't he? So
Correct. But but we'll talk about like what and why in a second. They started the game. It was like if someone had said like, okay, Daniel Farke's done here because he's lost the dressing room. That performance, you would not go out and say that in any way, shape, or form they've lost the dressing room, because they started like with just incredible intensity and press, and like they were going after them, and you kind of felt right. You got to get a goal here with the way you started the game to get capitalised. Otherwise, Chelsea going to come in and take control, and they got the goal. Good header from a corner. All right, set play goal. But then Chelsea grew into the game and dominated possession for a long period afterwards without threatening. I did feel like Gittins and Esteval it felt like they didn't have enough Premier League experience to know when a game gets like this is a Premier League game of physicality. And I think what Leeds did really well is when they counter-attacked with Mecha and Calvert-Lewin, they were able to get their midfielders break so quickly that they are able to get in. So Stack, Taneka, these guys. Like when I see West Ham play, for example, who I watch more than anyone else, when we get the ball up to Bowen or Wilson, they just end up so isolated, and there's nothing from midfield like that has the legs to catch up with them and create any trouble. Leeds did that. Like they had so much energy on the counter that their players were able to keep up with them. They caused Chelsea all sorts of problems on the counter. Really good performance from Leeds, I thought. Really good. Chelsea just weren't able to deal with it. It felt lightweight. Chelsea just felt lightweight without Caicedo in the middle, with Esteval and Gittins in the wide positions. They felt a little lightweight, I'm afraid. And they were missing a lot of first choice players in that team, so we can't take away from that from Chelsea. But Leeds' game plan worked to a T, and no one's coming away from that game saying that the score wasn't fair.
no, including Maresca after the game. In fairness to him, said it was completely deserved. I don't want to do that. I told you so, but this fixture was going to be a nightmare for Chelsea. With as soon as those fixtures were announced that Arsenal was Sunday and then Bournemouth away Saturday, I knew what this would be. In that Leeds would hunt it, and that Chelsea would take a chance and heavily rotate, like they did when they won very handsomely at Southampton. Similar, basically same midweek last season, and also like they did at Ipswich later in December when it didn't go so well. And
I watched that game as well. There's a lot of similarity in that game, actually, to be honest. The only difference was
Delap was playing for Chelsea rather than Ipswich.
But he was causing a lot of the problems on his own in that game for Chelsea on the counter attack. And then Hutchinson, actually, ironically, had a good game for Ipswich that day, who we talked about. But yeah, there was quite a bit of similarity in that, and they were got at.
Daniel James' injury, in a weird consequence here, might be what has won Leeds this football match. Whether they'd have changed to a back five without that injury at the weekend, we don't know. But we know that they changed, and then they played really well in the second half at Man City. And from 2-0 down, was so close to getting something and were in tension possibly to even win the game. It was then so obvious that with a day's extra rest from what Chelsea had and the suffering Chelsea had to do with a man short against Arsenal, the consequence that Chelsea were going to pick quite a young team, it was so obvious that they had to play at 100 mile an hour, aggressively press and play 5-3-2. And Daniel Farke's got all those little bits absolutely right. And actually, when I look at the makeup of this, Yaka Bijol, I mean, what a headed goal that is on the first goal. We've long thought, coming to the team. When's it happening? He got dipped in, then he got dipped back out. He'll be back on radar now. I'm fairly certain he'll play this system again against Liverpool. And actually, Leeds' fixtures are tough enough, I would say, for quite a while. This is the system that they should be playing now. And even if one of Nemecha or Calvert-Lewin's not available, play Okafor as one of the two, or play Willy Gnonto as one of the two. Stick with this system. That system is perfect for the two fullbacks. Bogle and Goodmanson, I think, are quite underrated in terms of their qualities on the ball and their ability to get forward. That's suitable for them. The back three, I think, can stay quite central and close to each other. They're okay in terms of their distribution on the ball. Ampadu is a really good anchor. You spoke about the support from the midfield players. It's helpful for the likes of Tanaka and Stack being back was a real plus for Leeds. Those two know that they can go. They've got the ability to do it and the stamina. Tanaka's particularly so busy, knowing that Ampadu will protect them. So I bet in times in shape, they almost look like a 3-1-4-2 as well when they get up to the top end of the pitch. So good, fair game to them.
If copy-paste this game plan at the weekend, Leeds play exactly in the same way they did against this Liverpool team.
They might beat them.
Yeah, they might. They might.
Chelsea. Gusto, Fofana, James, Palmer, Neto, Garnacho will probably all be back in the team at Bournemouth. Unfortunately, you take this gamble with too much. And we can't know for certain that Enzo Maresca would have done this, but would have felt absolutely forced to do it with the likes of Reece James and Wesley Fofana. Particularly, I get that. I think ideally Palmer would have started. They obviously felt that he wasn't ready for that. I'm sure now having got some minutes, he'll probably start at Bournemouth at the weekend. But yeah, you've taken too much out of that, unfortunately. There was an incident really early in the game. I'm watching the highlights back last night where they'd given away an early chance and Enzo Fernandez was losing his shit with people. Too much inexperience out there together. It's probably part way he's played like Chalobah and Cucurella as the fullbacks as well, is to keep some form of stability. I kind of feel sorry with the card that they got dealt this week, Chelsea. That are almost in hindsight been better off playing a stronger team as they could in this. And understand it, right? But it almost in hindsight, I think they've been going strong as they could in this and actually just going to Bournemouth and going low block.
Yeah.
In hindsight, because that's the best way to do Bournemouth as well. So, right, you can't go direct against us. And teams are having success cutting it out with Bournemouth at the moment. Hindsight. In reality, you think I need the stronger team for Bournemouth and their energy than Leeds. Like, I get it.
Yeah. Let's see how it plays out the weekend. But that Leeds-Liverpool game is definitely one to keep eyes on. What time is it?
It's 5:30 Saturday. We'll be
televised.
We will be there. Well, we won't be. I'll be coming back from White Hart Lane sulking probably. But yeah, we'll be watching.
Yeah, definitely. Good. Let's talk about Liverpool to wrap up this episode, James, of Planet FPL. Liverpool 1, Sunderland 1. Should we have a minute's applause for Florian Wirtz finally getting an assist in the Premier League, albeit
it's a fantasy assist. It's not a real assist. For
own goal. Yeah, listen, we're clutching here for this £120 million to be worth something.
He will come good. He's too good of a footballer. I've seen too much of him.
Yeah, I am inclined to agree with you. I also find it quite funny though that it's 100 and something million pounds and he's
listen. At the same time, you can't say that he's justifying the price tag or anything. That's clear as not, right? I mean, to have got to this point in December and this be what we're saying is what first attack in return. It's not good enough. But then that whole team at the moment is not good enough.
There's nothing that you'd say. I mean, they didn't rack up a monster XG, did Liverpool? They did have a lot of shots, 23 of them, but 23 shots for just barely 1.4 XG doesn't really make you think that they possibly deserved it. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I didn't watch much of this. I was watching the Leeds game.
So I watched. I'd kind of thought I watched first half Brighton Villa, but then there was no way I was not going to finish that game, having with Villa getting back to 2-2. So I watched the in between bit of the first half while Villa was half time. There was nothing really to speak of, and then I watched the end of it from when Brighton Villa finished. And Sunderland, for my money, were probably deserving winners. Actually, I think that's the minimum they deserves. Yeah, you can take data and all those sort of bits and the amount of shots Liverpool had, etc. I mean, Isidor's chance on the break. That Liverpool, that moment actually, I think encapsulates Liverpool quite a bit. The lack of leadership across the board, whether that's managerial decision making, whether that's players on field, that is an absolute shambles. I would not expect like an under 11s team to getting themselves in a position where they're a 1-1 in a football match and will leave one player up front on his own with nobody back. And fair game to Chiesa for getting back. It's absolutely shambolic. You ain't going to survive in the Premier League if you're that disorganised, no matter how much individual quality you've got. And the individual quality is lacking at the moment. Van Dijk's not playing well. Konate's not playing well. And then it feels like they've changed structure. I almost can't get my head around this a little bit. They've changed structure recently and gone a little bit firmer, this moment aside. But at a time when you've now taken Mo out the team. So Gomez at right back, you would think better to deal with the consequences of keeping Mo Salah high and wide. Szoboszlai goes out, Funnels gives a bit of help. But actually within possession, you're asking Gomez, what I've seen, you're asking Gomez to get kind of high and wide on the right. Well, he's a centre-back, low on quality.
Well, yeah.
What are you expecting? It's just not going to be great, is it?
What's going on with Salah?
Well, I was astonished that he didn't start. I said on Monday, like, look, he'll play this week, and if he doesn't, we'll have a conversation on Thursday. Well, we've now got to have the conversation. The reality is, and you always have to, people get upset when you criticise people like Mo. Right. He's been bang average. Let's be real about it. He's been bang average this season. And he gives Liverpool fundamental issues in terms of both the pressing at the top end, whereas I think others like Diaz have covered that in the past, and also obviously the defensive nature of it. Although I've been quite quick to defend that in the past and say I think that's how Liverpool set up. They want to keep him high and wide to make sure he's in a position to hurt. But watching the last 20 minutes last night, and Reynaldo, I thought what I saw of the game was outstanding against him. You never thought Salah could do him. Nothing. Look at him going, don't fancy you at all. And I've had moments I felt like that about Mo in the past. I've said I've owned him in fantasy at times and not enjoyed it. I found some of the things he'd done a bit clumsy at times. But you can't knock around the top end product. But you strip someone like that who's an output monster and then they're not, you're judging the player very differently. It's like Sonny. When I used to be critical of Sonny, you'd always get it back. His output's this, that, and the other. Cool. But when the output stops, what have you got now? Now, his output, for whatever reason, has just not been there this season. Anywhere near the levels that would be acceptable for what he's done historically. They've taken him out of the team. They win the game at the weekend. I assumed it was rest. They decide to near enough stick with the same team. Okay, they've rotated the left back, but otherwise it's the same team. Was it better with or without him last night? I don't know the answer to that because everyone was really critical of Gakpo as far as I can see from the Liverpool fans last night in the first half. But there's not to praise Salah for what I saw in the second half. So, too many players underperforming. I know a lot of Liverpool guys who watched the whole game who said it was that bad that even Szoboszlai was bad. And he's kind of been one of the kind of small shining lights for them from the season. Van Dijk, like going for a twerk again. The second time this season they've conceded a goal and he's gone for a twerk. There might be more, but I can only think of the Casado one on top of this one at the same time. This one actually deflects off his twerk and scores for Talby's goal. So, yeah, look, if Liverpool The only thing I'd say is whether Leeds can match their intensity again 3 days after that intensity, but they'll go into the Liverpool game almost. Presumably they would have gone into this with nothing to lose. Everyone
Yeah.
would have expected Leeds to get 0 points from the 3 games. Basically, you might say, "Oh, they might nick a draw here or something." But probably most Leeds fans, if you say if you get anything out this week, you'll be happy. So they've already kind of achieved that. So there is a nothing to lose mentality to the game on Saturday. If Liverpool don't find some intensity, they're in big trouble on Saturday because Leeds will have it. It's just whether Leeds have got the legs to do that again in the way that they've just done against Chelsea. I wouldn't be surprised to get beat. Here's the good news for Liverpool. For me, when I look around the table and the teams compete, Liverpool probably should still finish top 5.
Yep.
They've got to sort their life out. And unfortunately, you do. I'm not saying that they should sack him, but you've got to start looking at it and saying, this ain't right. It's too much now. This is 3 months. And it's arguably longer than 3 months because the results was covering over for a lot of it beforehand. Liverpool have not really played a good game of football in about 10 months. That's a reality. Not to the level that we expected when they were blowing everyone away last year. And Tottenham against Ange doesn't count. That's a free hit for everybody.
Yeah.
Sunderland.
Keep plugging away.
Very good. You're not going to go and invest in anything new this week when I'm going.
We had a question on Twitter. Can Sunderland qualify for Europe?
Yes. Yeah, they're going to have a few issues with a few people obviously disappearing for AFCON shortly. Reynaldo might be the biggest one, but it's only a lot was made in the summer. It was sort of going to be like 7 or 8 players going, and I think it might be 7 or 8 players, but it's only going to be probably 3. That's probably going to be like a kind of a real impact to the team. They've got nothing to lose. They've bought really good quality. They've bought caliber of players. I think when you reflect on it, they've bought caliber of players that are better than what you would expect a promoted side to get. So they need, like Xhaka is the perfect example of that. They deserve mass credit for what they've done in terms of their recruitment last summer. And they are giving everybody a football match. I mean, at the weekend, they were 2-0 down to Bournemouth, and you think, I'm probably done from there. Come back and won the game. They so nearly won at Anfield. They won at Stamford Bridge. So you've got enough kind of to go on now and say, okay, yeah, this isn't a green fixture anymore. They're better than that. Can they challenge for Europe? Well, I tell you what, the teams that qualify for Europe will be the teams that be the most consistent. And you look at them and you go, well, I know what I'm getting. It's consistency. And within that, you can get flips of formation. And they're doing some unique things now as well, where I think some people can look at that last night and go, well, it's 5-4-1. It's not that. Lafay's come off the left. He's going to kind of play as a right-sided 10. It's almost acted like a box in front of the 2 central midfield players. You've got Humes playing on the right-hand side, wants to come and invert inside. Michele's then going to go and have the touchline. Doing some cute things. It's not just, they're not, what I'm saying, they're not going to Liverpool and just like, 5-4-1, low block, come and do what you can. Like, they're showing invention in terms of not just what they're doing in terms of in the ball. They're obviously a threat from set plays and stuff, but they're brave. Most of these teams are brave now. There's not many teams in the league just letting teams play out from the back and goal kick. Sunderland will go man to man and press, and then again, yeah, it's retreat and it's low block once you enter into their half and stuff. And if they're powerful, right? Such a physical team. So could they qualify for Europe? Yeah, I don't think they'll be in competition for a top 5 places in Champions League, but it could easily go down to sort of 8th or 9th for Europe. So, yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay, cool. That's a wrap then on the games that we're covering off, James. Tomorrow, you're doing the weekender with David, so you'll cover off Manchester United versus West Ham. You usually do your free hit and wildcard drafts for that. So
that, yeah.
Wherever you're listening to the podcast or if you're on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing and hitting the notification bell. You get notified as soon as that goes live. We'll do the differential show tomorrow, James, preparing for the weekend.
And I will do a lot more on Tottenham Arse with Clates today. And I'm sure he'll have plenty to say on his team as well.
Yeah, indeed. Good. In terms of the questions that we've had in on social media, James,
that is available for all paying patrons this month.
Yeah, go on. Tell the listeners who haven't yet heard what the deal with Patreon is this month.
So everyone's getting bumped up a tier. That's even one podcast a week available even for free members. Our Gameweek 14 preview podcast this week went out to free members. Everybody on basic tier and basic plus tier gets access to all the podcasts throughout the month. All the intermediate plus tier patrons get access to all the additional advanced tier content, such as my team news stream tomorrow. Away days from Newcastle will be out later today. Away days have got 5 minutes added on as a little bonus for the month as well. I've got a Zoom call with them tomorrow as well. There's plenty for everyone. Even sign up as a free member, watch the best bits on a Friday. But yeah, essentially, as you'd said on Monday, Suj, you've basically got 20 odd podcasts for £3 if you want this month.
15p a podcast, which is 15p an hour, which is basically James's salary. So
everything out earlier and no ad as well. And yes, I'm looking for a rise to 16p an hour would be very 16p. Useful. So please support the show at www.patreon.com/Planet FPL, because I'm like Oliver, more please, sir.
Yeah, good. If you made it this far into the podcast as well, and you haven't watched that show with Nico yesterday, why not head over to YouTube and watch that as well? Can
we just say as well, Nico, brother. So he put a certain Brazilian player, his player on the clock. Like, is it over? Neymar, who went and scored a brilliant hat trick for Santos last night.
Okay. Fair play. Go and have a listen to that as well. You spent like 5 minutes talking about Nico's FPL team and didn't even mention that he was on free hit. Like, it was bad, his team, but it was even worse because it was on free hit when so many
but I thought I'd do him a favour and
not
see what his actual team really looks like. Maybe we'll do that next month.
Fair play. Good.
I think he's about 5 points clear of my missus, and she ain't logged in since game week 1, so he's really got to pull his finger out.
Wow. Okie dokie. Let's see where we are after game week 19. I'm about 80 points ahead of him now. We might reframe that bet and say he can still be alive if he doesn't lose to be by more than 100 points, which I think at some point could be on the cards.
That's quite, I'm gonna lose to you by 100 points. That's pretty low.
That's bad.
Yeah, he's bad.
That is bad, but it's going to happen this
Maybe
season.
We should pair him up, like give him and Krellin versus me and you or something, or him and Harry Daniels versus me and you or something.
I'm going to ask only one question, James, from the ones that we've had on social media, because we've covered most of. You mentioned when we talked about City, you're not going to chase Foden, but a lot of people are looking at Foden and his name comes up quite a bit in the questions. What are your thoughts? If you can, and you've got no other fires to put out, would you go there?
From who?
Anyone. Oh. Let's say Gakpo. I'm looking at selling Gakpo, for example. I've got exact money to do Gakpo to Foden today.
Probably not.
You need to expand a bit more on the answer.
I think like he's got more points in the last 2 weeks than the previous 12 weeks combined. I do think that there is possibly a correlation of what I said on Monday. Cherky. Mm-hmm. That they want to do the same things a little bit too much. I saw the first goal from Tuesday night and thought, okay, well done. That's another kind of like long ranger. That's in your locker. Brilliant. Then you see the second goal and you go, oh, okay, that's arriving in the box. That looks really good. And clearly he's on it and he's playing very well. Personally, am I going to go and steam into a player that I don't know starts this week and has Crystal Palace away next week? No. Might I go and look at him for game week 17 against West Ham? Yes. But I personally, no, I'm not steaming into that on the basis that it could easily be 1 point and then arguably second worst fixture in the league.
Yeah.
And 16, by the way, I would like to take Haaland on for captaincy if I can find something nice enough, which probably means having, I think for me, do I have enough trust in Saka? But it's not unthinkable that I'd even captain Thiago.
Okay, cool.
I'll probably still captain Haaland because us content creators, we're all a bit boring.
Yes, we are. We are indeed.
Apparently.
All right. On that note, we'll go off and be boring. James, let's wrap this episode of Planet FPL. Make sure, as I've said, you're subscribed wherever you're listening to the audio, or if you're on YouTube, hit the notification bell as well. Give Patreon a go if you want to add some additional content into the mix, as well as access to our Slack community, prize leagues, and all of that kind of stuff. But we will be back with you for the differential show tomorrow and a game week review on Monday. Stay safe. Look after yourselves. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other and always play it your way. Cue music, please, man shot.